What's up? So I'll just come right out and say it. I have fucked up so many times in relationships, and I'm basically just going to talk about all the times that I have acted a damn fool and what I wish I would have done differently, what I choose to learn from, and how I'm going to improve my mistakes for future relationships. So basically, if you're an ex of mine and you're watching this, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yeah, gonna be making myself into a clown while I talk about all the times I've been a clown and what I would do differently if I could go back in time, but more importantly, how I am going to avoid making the same mistakes for the future. This is gonna be kind of an embarrassing experience. I definitely need to embrace some humility because it is so easy for me to look back on my relationships and basically say like, oh, well, men are trash and the guys that I dated are trash, which first of all is not true whatsoever. I dated those people for a reason, and it's because I felt a connection to them, and if they were trash, I probably wouldn't have done that. And I also don't think that anyone is like inherently a bad person. I think that believing in the capacity for change and believing that people can grow is something that I hold on to really strongly, just because if I were to believe that people are just stagnant, I wouldn't push myself for growth, and I want to be able to give people the opportunity to have that same mindset provided for them, if that makes any sense. I definitely think I've chosen to be in relationships with people who were not a good fit for me. I'm not here to blame any one person or say that people are bad people. I just am here to talk about all the times that I have fucked up. So let's get started. My makeup bag is I'm so sorry, everyone. Like, why is there a tampon in there? I don't know. I am in a class right now called Love Actually, which essentially just talks about a lot of different theories that people have on how we love and why we love. And it's pretty interesting. We just read a book called The Art of Loving, which is by this German psychoanalyst whose name was Erich Fromm. His whole shtick was basically that in order to actually achieve love, we must first overcome one's own narcissism. I'm a double Leo, so you already know that I am a narcissistic asshole. Just kidding, but it's science. But I am also just recognizing the fact that I can have a bit of an ego, but on the flip side, I am also just insecure as fuck sometimes, which I'm sure a lot of us can relate to. I am insecure about a lot of things, but as the years have gone on, I've learned to kind of accept the things that I criticize myself on the most, which I remember when I was younger, it had a lot to do with appearance, just feeling super insecure in the way I looked and the way I expressed myself, the way I dressed, especially because it didn't really fit in with the environment I was growing up in. As I got older, kind of manifested itself into like not receiving male attention and equating my self-worth to receiving that. So when I wouldn't, I basically assumed that that meant I was not worthy of anyone's attention, which is so not true, as we all know. But my 11-year-old self was like, oh my God, Ricky doesn't like me.
I have to go journal.
Oh, I also know that I'm not using like a beauty blender or anything, and I'm breaking all coronavirus rules by touching my face, but I don't own a beauty blender, so we're just gonna say fuck it. But I washed my hands, so don't worry about that too much. So I definitely had a lot of insecurities about the way I looked and the way that people, and especially men, perceived me. I got into my first relationship when I was a junior in high school, and I did it just like how I try and meet people now, which is sliding into the DMs. So I slid into this guy's Twitter DMs, and I was basically like, hey. And it worked. I thought he was cute. I was like, whatever, let's see what happens. I'm just gonna apply this concealer, like a fuck ton of it, because we're gonna hide our mistakes and pretend like they're not there and just smother this shit on. I wish that I could do this with my life, but I can't, so we're just gonna do it on my face. I entered into this relationship, and the idea that a boy liked me was just earth-shattering. I was like, holy shit, this is incredible. Someone thinks I'm hot. Just got my braces off. I was 17. I felt like hot shit. I was like, here we go. Everything is good. The world is my oyster. Let's go make out in a car. Sorry, I'm just like looking. Like I said, I should have prepared before. I need to procrastinate everything in my life because that's consistency and I value that. Okay, so we're gonna go in with there's a hair on that. I'm disgusting. We're gonna go in with the cloud paint. So we're just gonna pile this shit on. Okay. At the beginning of that relationship, I was pretty euphoric just because I was like, holy shit, someone thinks I am cute and they think I'm worthy of their time. And I think that was the first mistake in like understanding what a relationship is, because I didn't think to myself, do I like this person? Do I appreciate what they believe in? Do I think that they make me feel good? I was so consumed with this idea of, do they like me? And this idea of worthiness, and basically thinking, okay, if this guy likes me, that means I'm worthwhile and I'm worth something. And if he doesn't, that means I'm not. And that means that I am basically a
Piece of shit on the side of the road that's gonna blow into your windshield.
which isn't healthy. And needless to say, I was really insecure in that relationship. One, because it was my first relationship. And that insecurity definitely made me really anxious as a person. I became this person that would always be nervous that I was going to lose my boyfriend because I thought that other people were prettier than me and cooler than me, and he would realize that at one point and think, oh shit, well, what am I doing with her? And so the fact that I wasn't happy with myself like really bled into that relationship. At this point, I was also starting to really show signs of anxiety. I started having panic attacks, and we were both young, so I don't think he was necessarily like equipped to handle that. At times he did make me feel like a burden, which was not great on his end. At 17, it's hard to know how to handle your own emotions, let alone someone else who is experiencing something really heavy. I was basically really anxious. He could sense that. He was not necessarily the most empathetic when it came to that, and it kind of just became this cyclical thing. And so that relationship ended. Surprise. He went off to college, basically broke up with me over text, and I was like, holy shit, my life is over. I am a worthless piece of garbage. Back to the garbage metaphor. I was so fucking sad. My 17-year-old little brain wasn't like, oh, well, okay, let's see how we can like grow from this. So I was basically having all of my self-confidence hinge on Hinge. I've been using Hinge, by the way, on quarantine. So any Hinge boys, if y'all want to go on a Zoom date with me, hit me up. So my self-confidence solely relied on whether or not guys found me attractive, which will not end well for anybody. If you have that external locus of control or external locus of thought, you will never be happy, because you will always be searching for validation from sources that might not give it to you and that you can't rely on or control. So I'm 17, I'm sad as fuck, but I eventually meet, well, I already knew this person actually. We were really good friends in high school. Lo and behold, he liked me back. We started dating halfway through my senior year. We started off long distance, which was bold of the both of us, but I look like I have a rash on my face. So yeah, at this point, I am applying to college. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck I want to do with my life. He definitely made me feel really secure in our relationship. But because I was still figuring out who I was in this like really weird transitional phase, I get to college and I'm like, oh my god, this is all I need. All I need is my boyfriend from home and my parents, and I'll be good. In a time when you don't really know anybody, it's so good to have someone that you can rely on, and this happened to be the person that I was dating. But when you do have these problems of attaching all of the worthiness of yourself and the validation of your life to a person, it is not such a good idea. I didn't have a fake ID, and in New York, it is pretty hard to do anything unless you have a fake ID because people aren't really throwing parties in their dorms. I was just in my home, in my dorm room, FaceTiming my boyfriend. So then we get to this idea of jealousy. I've always been in monogamous relationships. I am not opposed to being okay, I'm actually not gonna do this while I'm talking.
Okay, so basically what I was trying to say as I'm applying this lip liner very poorly is that I'm definitely not opposed to being in a non-monogamous relationship, but I do recognize that I have a lot of growing to do before I think I can safely enter into something like that and respect the boundaries that come with it. Anyways, let's see how I'm doing over here. Clearly not that good.
I'm so scared of myself right now. Okay, well anyways, I let a lot of my self-worth, self-esteem hinge on how much attention I got from my boyfriend. Ooh, excuse me. Ooh, another one, okay. I would try my best not to let it show because I was embarrassed by it, but I just acted like not that, you know what, I'll say, I acted not that great to him sometimes. I would just get angry over shit that didn't matter. I would feel jealous, or I would feel threatened by a girl that he was friends with. I have no good reason to be doing that. There was nothing shady. It wasn't like I was seeing things where I was like, oh, wait. Sometimes your hunches are correct. You gotta trust a woman's intuition, but I was basically acting a damn fool for no reason. There was nothing shady happening. Was so unhappy with myself that I basically saw every other woman as a threat. That's really fucking sad, just because I think we, as a society, tend to pit women against each other and make women seem like competition for one another, especially for male attention. I have definitely fallen susceptible to that. I have started to not like people that I normally did like because I felt like they were a threat to me and a threat to my relationship. In that relationship, I definitely was acting a bit wonky. I started getting attention from other guys. I felt really confident. I was like, oh, I'm in college. Now I'm hot. I ended up breaking up with that boyfriend because I was getting attention from other people as well. I felt I could look and think, what do I want out of a relationship? Which was something that I should have been able to do before. But because my mind was so consumed with keeping the attention of one person, I didn't make those rational thoughts in my head. My little brain didn't make those. My brain was like,
No.
I'm gonna stay single after I make this because... Okay, unfortunately, pretty soon after that, I had a very traumatic experience. I won't go too into it, but it was something that had rocked my shit. So I was dealing with that. I had the classic regret of breaking up with my boyfriend. You see someone moving on and you're like, knock knock, I'm here. So I was like, holy fuck, I messed up. I made the biggest mistake of my life and please come back to me. We were dumb, briefly entertained that idea. It did not end well. Long story short, I was talking to this guy in my sophomore year of college, and I was also talking to this other guy who I started seeing, and he was older than me. And at this point, I'm a baby. So I made the very smart, mature decision to lie about my age and tell him I was 21. I was not. That ended up ruining something that felt like it was going in a good direction, but I lied. I said I was 21, and I was not. And that is something that I would not recommend doing, people. And then I start dating this other guy. I start dating him, and again, the insecurity monster came crawling back, and this time it brought its little friend, which is traumatic past. Together, boy, those two do a number on you. I'm still struggling with my identity, but now it's tied to coming out of a traumatic situation, and I'm young. I don't really have any resources to help guide me, and so I turn to my sweet boyfriend to be that person. You know, a 20-year-old guy in college, like, isn't the best resource for PTSD and managing it. I was definitely putting a lot onto this person. I was their first relationship. Understandably, they didn't really know how to manage it well all the time. There's something in my eye. I feel like I have like a twig in my eye. I feel like that woman on YouTube, I think her name's Brandy, and she does like makeup when she is high, and it comes out really funny. But I'm not high, I'm just talking about like all the times I was stupid in relationships. Yeah, I don't have an excuse for why this looks so bad. But anyways, I had this oscillation of insecurity based on feeling like he was going to find someone better to spend his time with. And this time it wasn't rooted in my intelligence or in my looks or feeling insecure about those things. It was unfortunately rooted in the fact that I was coping with these really shitty things, and these things that felt much bigger than myself. I was like, oh, well, there's definitely a girl out there who is not dealing with these things. In my head, the worst thing in the world that could happen was this man just like dumping me. Honestly, I've come to a point in my life where like being dumped isn't the worst thing that can happen to you at all. Taylor Swift wrote songs for a reason, and it's this reason. Did I just mess this up? As if I could mess this up. What's the next step? Oh, I should do pigtails. Okay. Oh no. Okay. Just thought to myself, this person's gonna find someone that's more chill than me, because they're not dealing with all this bullshit that I am not actually finding proper resources to cope with. Haha. So he eventually broke up with me. Are we surprised? No. All of these are cyclical, which is again why I say that things don't happen in a vacuum. Like, there's definitely two people involved when things go south. I was really heartbroken by this relationship ending. I think I knew that it was going to be ending, but I didn't want to accept that because in my head, being alone was worse than being in a relationship that wasn't really working. And I don't want it to like touch my lips because I have so much shit on them. And I was like, okay, I have a decision to make. I can either sit around, look for the next person, and just kind of be like, hope the next one works out, or I can decide, let's fix some shit. And I decided, thankfully, the latter. And I started reading some literature about how we navigate relationships and the ways in which we act in them. I came across this incredible book called The Ethical Slut. Basically, the book is technically about polyamory and navigating polyamorous relationships, but it also talks a lot about jealousy and possessiveness and insecurity. I focus way too much on receiving love as opposed to giving love, and that's not the type of partner that I want to be. So I started reading this book. I was basically like, help me, please. And they talk about this one idea called a starvation economy. It's a person believing that one's ability to love, to have intimacy, the capacity to perform and contain all of these things is finite and limited. So I got a Tinder and I was like, let's go. I went on my first Tinder date. It was honestly awful. I went into the Nike store for like 2 hours and walked around until I was like,
I have to meet my friend for dinner. Bye.
And then we never spoke again until I saw him a few months later with his, I'm assuming, girlfriend. And we sat next to each other at a restaurant by accident. I hope you're doing well, Jackson. Anyways, so I'm on Tinder and I meet someone. Who is honking? Who is honking? He was abundantly clear that he was into me in the beginning. I had my guard up. I knew I was really into him as well. He eventually asked me if I wanted to be his girlfriend, and I said yes, because I did. I basically told myself, being in a monogamous relationship is not going to equate to possessing a person. I still firmly stand by that. And I wanted to separate the idea that those two were linked. I started dating him. I could feel him eventually pushing away, and I was like, oh my god, okay, hold on, things are happening. He's leaving now. And that kind of crashed and burned. And then 3 months go by. Things were good for maybe like 2 weeks out of those 3 months. So I was being dumb. I did some things that I really regret. One of which was showed up to his show. His band's actually really good. I'm not gonna plug it on here because that gives away identity. I ended up showing up to his show like drunk off my ass. My sister and I had pre-gamed it, finished a whole bottle of Fireball while watching The Bachelorette. My sister left at some point, ended up crying, drunk crying to his roommate, and just being a fool. He wasn't talking to me at this show that he invited me to. That wasn't awesome, but also like, I could have just left, but I didn't. I was like,
You know what? If this is how things are gonna go, then I have to go throw up in the bathroom, and then I have to come back out, and then I have to start crying, and then I have to just basically like talk to people and be like, I don't know why he doesn't like me, and like I've liked him for so long, and like I don't know why, and basically where's my Uber?
and that's kind of how things went. And I'm pretty sure I screamed at him in the street. Yeah, I woke up the next day and was like, I am stupid. I don't think it's necessarily a gendered thing, but I know myself and a lot of other women have heard a guy say,
I just can't be in a relationship right now. I have to like wash my dog, and I have to like shave my arms, and I just can't do it. So, yeah.
and what we hear is, I just can't be in a relationship right now.
Change that for me.
When someone tells you something, believe it. With this guy, it was definitely a case of him definitely telling me I can't do this. I would be so consumed with this idea that it could work out that I then put myself in situations that I should have just been giving myself some space, giving him space 100%. Both of us needed space. I basically told myself like, no, this will work, because if this doesn't work, then my whole idea of what this was wrong, which isn't true. The times that we had that were really good together, I cherish so much. And just because things don't work out doesn't mean that those times don't count or they stop existing. I think with that last relationship, I was really starting to become critical about how I am loving someone and the reasons why I'm loving someone. I think a lot of times when I have loved people in the past, it is with the hope that I will receive love. And not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but I think it is something that it could end up leading to disappointment, and that's also just not selfless love. So that was a good lesson to learn. So to remove all our mistakes and to move forward, I'm gonna be using the Neutrogena oil-free eye makeup remover. The main takeaway from my clownery of the past, I let my insecurities guide me. I basically put worth into people because I let them define what I was worth. I'm learning to understand that sometimes people just won't like you, and I used to think that that was like the worst thing in the fucking universe, and I'm still learning to overcome that. Not only with like boys. Making this YouTube channel, I think to myself like, oh my god, what if I get comments from people that are like,
Hey, you're stupid!
And honestly, that's bound to happen. People aren't gonna like you in your life, and that's okay. But the key is to not let the approval of others rule how you see yourself. And that sounds so much easier said than done. I realize that. I'm saying it now, but I'm still working on that. I'm definitely still working on that. Also, just understanding that there isn't a set amount of love in the universe. Sorry if this video was like truly all over the place. I I'm still figuring out how to like plan my videos. We can all learn and grow together. I am still learning. I am still making mistakes, but we can try not to repeat some. And I hope you guys are hanging in there in this quarantine. I am so bored. I made a TikTok, and I'm addicted to it. So that's where I'm at. What's that dance that Pennywise does in It when he's like in front of the fire?